selling products online, there's no telling what type of shoppers you're going to come across. For the most part, your shoppers will be happy to support you as a small business owner and purchase your products. Unfortunately, there are a number of customers, a number of shoppers that do not have the best of intentions. Let me share an example. At a recent vendor event, there was a shopper that went around purchasing products from multiple vendors through Cash App. A couple weeks went by, and this shopper went back to her bank and disputed all of the charges. All of the charges that she made at this vendor event. A couple of the vendors reached out to Cash App to try to fight the chargebacks. Unfortunately, since the shopper disputed the charges through her bank and not Cash App, there was nothing Cash App could do. Cash App could not even provide the vendors with the name of the bank that the shopper disputed the charges through. So as a result, the vendors were out their money. Now, unfortunately, this type of thing happens. Another vendor shared that she actually lost over $500 from one shopper at an event because that shopper used her husband's credit card and this vendor was using Square. So the vendor tried to reach out to Square after this shopper disputed the $500 charge, and Square sided with the customer because she had used her husband's credit card and the vendor did not verify her identification. A lot of vendors will try to collect payment through their personal Venmo account and their Cash App account. Now, Venmo does have Venmo for Business, but a lot of vendors prefer to use their personal Venmo account because Venmo for Business does have associated fees that would be similar to using Square or Shopify and paying processing fees. But when you use your personal account, you are less likely to win chargebacks. A side note, a new law recently went into effect as of January 1st, 2022, and this law is called the American Rescue Plan Act. And according to this new law, anyone receiving $600 per year using Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, or Cash App will receive a 1099-K and be required to report that income on their taxes. So if you are a vendor who uses something like Venmo or Cash App on your personal account to try to avoid paying fees, you might be in for a rude awakening come tax season. Now let's talk about what we can do to prevent disputes and chargebacks. First, your best bet is to invest in a chip reader like this. So I actually have the Shopify chip reader, and this was one of the first chip readers that they actually came out with. And the reason that you want to invest in something like this is because when the bank or payment processing service sees that a customer disputed a charge, they can actually check to see how the vendor collected the payment. So if you did not have one of these and you used, let's say, the Shopify POS app to manually enter the shopper's credit card information into the app to process the payment, the bank will be able to see that and be more likely to side with the shopper because it's kind of sketchy to enter someone's credit card in manually. Now, if you had used one of these and inserted their card and this chip reader was able to read the card and process the payment, then the bank can see that and they can at least tell that you used a chip reader. This doesn't guarantee that you can fight and win the dispute, but it does increase your odds. Now this is, like I said, one of the older models. Now Shopify actually has newer models that allow you to actually tap the credit card payment. This one only allows you to insert and swipe. Another thing you can do to avoid chargebacks is to provide itemized receipts to your customer and make them sign the receipt. Now, Shopify, I use Shopify, they actually have the ability for you to allow the customer to sign the transaction on either your iPad or smartphone, whatever you're using to collect the payment. You can have the customer sign it, and that will count as a signed receipt. But either way, if you're providing an itemized receipt, that will minimize the chances that the customer will win the chargeback. And better yet, if you are accepting credit card from your shoppers, you can ask them for their ID and make sure the ID matches the credit card, and that way that you've verified that the person is the person they say they are using the credit card. Does all of this prevent fraud entirely? Unfortunately, no. You're not going to be able to prevent all customers from disputing your charges and winning, but you can take these steps to decrease the likelihood that your customers will win the chargebacks. Another option is that you can only accept cash. But I don't recommend that because a lot of people don't carry cash. And if you're at a vendor event and someone's about to purchase your product and you say cash only, then they might say no thanks and walk away, and you'll lose out on sales. So I don't recommend only accepting cash. Now, all of that to say, I don't want to discourage you guys from participating in vendor events just because of the fear of chargebacks and customers disputing your charges, because it honestly doesn't happen that often. I can say from personal experience that I've actually never had a shopper dispute any of their charges from my live pop-up events and vendor events. And there are people who have been in the vendor world for 5-7+ years. There was actually a vendor who shared that she has been doing vendor events for 7 years, and in those 7 years she's only had 2 chargebacks, and one of which the customer won and the other the customer lost. So the bank or the Square or whoever it was actually sided with the customer in one scenario, but sided with her as the vendor in the other scenario. So you don't want to be afraid of participating in these live events, because these live events, these in-person vendor events, are going to be one of the best ways that you can make sales, build a local audience, get your name out there, and grow your profits and grow your following on social media. So don't be afraid to participate. Just make sure you're doing what you can to prevent banks from siding with the customer. To summarize, what you can do is 1, avoid using Venmo, your personal Venmo account, Cash App. 2, you can invest in some sort of chip reader. 3, you can provide itemized receipts. And 4, you can require that your customers sign those itemized receipts. And 5, you can check their ID to make sure they are who they say they are. And with all of that, you should be more likely to win in these disputes. And that's it. So let me know if you guys have any further questions, anything else you'd like to learn about. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you do give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe. I do have tons of videos and all things pop-up events, Shopify, collecting payments, selling things online, digital marketing, and more. So make sure you subscribe to learn more. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.